You know, the next time you get an X-ray or a CT scan or an MRI, have you ever stopped to think about who actually owns that equipment or who owns the practice that's reading your results? Well, that answer is changing, and it's changing way faster than you might think. Today, we're going to dig into a huge shift happening just under the surface of medicine, the rise of private equity in radiology. So, first things first, what in the world is private equity? Honestly, the best way to think about it is like professional home flipping. But instead of houses, they're flipping entire businesses. These investment firms buy a company, work to make it more valuable and profitable, and then, a few years down the line, they sell it for a big return. For a long time, this was really the world of, tech companies and big retail chains. But now, these financial heavyweights are setting their sights on something way more personal: healthcare. And as it turns out, one specific field has become a major, major target. To really get a handle on just how fast this is all happening, we're going to look at some incredible data from a new study that tracked all of this over the last 11 years. And trust me, the numbers tell a pretty dramatic story. Okay, so let's set the stage. Go back in time to 2013. If you were a radiologist in the U.S., there was just a tiny 1% chance that you worked for a practice owned by a private equity firm. I mean, it was barely even a blip on the radar. Now, let's fast forward just one decade. That number, it didn't just grow, it exploded. From 1% all the way up to 12%. That's a 12-fold increase. Think about that. Today, more than 1 out of every 10 radiologists in the entire country is working for a company backed by private equity. And what's so fascinating here is that this wasn't some slow and steady climb. You can see the buying frenzy really took off. It started with just a handful of deals, but then look at 2019. It just went through the roof, with 27 practices bought up in a single year. It's cooled off a bit since then, but wow, what a peak. So here is the bottom line. The sheer scale of this is what's so important. When you add it all up, 151 separate radiology practices were snapped up by these firms in just over a decade. That isn't just a trend, that's a complete restructuring of an entire field of medicine. Right, but this whole takeover thing isn't happening the same way everywhere. Not at all. Some parts of the country have been completely transformed, while others have barely been touched. Let's pull up the map and see where the hotspots are. You might think, okay, 12% nationally means it's probably spread out pretty evenly, right? A little bit here, a little bit there. But is that what's really going on? And this map just says it all. The darker the sheet of blue, the more private equity ownership there is. And you can see a pattern almost instantly, can't you? The American West is without a doubt ground zero for these acquisitions. And let's just zoom in on the most extreme case here. In the state of Nevada, private equity isn't just some small player. It's a dominant force. A jaw-dropping 47%, that's nearly half, of all radiologists in the state now work for a P-owned practice. And it is a very similar story right next door. Head over to Arizona, and that number is 44%. So in these states, this isn't an emerging trend anymore. It's rapidly becoming the main way radiology is practiced. So all of this really leads to two big questions. First, out of every specialty in medicine, why radiology? What makes it such a juicy target for investors? And second, and this is the one that really matters to all of us, what could this all mean for patients? Well, from an investor's point of view, radiology is kind of a perfect storm. For one, it needs all this expensive high-tech equipment, and private equity firms have deep pockets to fund those big buys. Two, the demand for X-rays and MRIs just keeps going up. And three, the reimbursement rates from insurance have traditionally been pretty good, which means a reliable flow of cash. Okay, so what happens when PE takes over? Well, it really seems to be a double-edged sword. On the one hand, supporters say this investment means better tech, newer machines, and more efficient offices. But on the other hand, a growing body of research is raising some red flags, linking these takeovers to higher prices for patients and a ton of pressure on doctors to be more productive, which can lead straight to burnout. And that brings us to the final piece of this puzzle. After this whirlwind decade of deals, what does the market actually look like today? And what are the big questions that we're all left with? This quote from the study really gets to the heart of the human side of all this. It's easy to forget we're talking about doctors and their workplaces. When a practice gets sold, radiologists can go from being owners to being employees. And the study points out this can cause huge cultural shifts and new pressures that really change the day-to-day life of a physician. And look, this isn't just about lots of different firms buying up practices. It's about massive consolidation.
Just look at this chart. Of all the radiologists in the country who work for a PE-backed company, one single firm, Radiology Partners, employs 70% of them. 70%. In fact, just 3 companies control 85% of this entire new market.
So, this all brings us to one final, really important question. The data is clear. We've seen a massive and rapid shift from small doctor-owned practices to huge corporate investor-backed entities. And it leaves us with this thought. When medicine starts to be run more and more like a business with a focus on returns for shareholders, who really gets the final say over your health?